Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
And I'm MK.
And how are you? You're such
Courtney has been waiting
a
all day for this moment. I have never been so alive.
love it. I'm so jealous.
Last night, I went to the mainstream sellout tour to see MGK in his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. When I tell you, this man zip lined from the top of the stadium to the stage. He went like 30 minutes over the time he was allowed to be in the thing and literally got a notification on, like, they told him on his headset that he was going to have to pay $70,000 for every 10 minutes. And he was like, fuck it, I got two more songs. Like,
Jeez.
there was 50,000 people. He cried 3 times about like how overwhelmed he was about being back in his hometown and having that many people shout screaming his name.
Oh,
It was like, so I was like living that, and the energy in the place was fucking amazing. But also, like, for those of you who don't know, I like randomly 2 years ago was watching a clip of a late night talk show that MGK happened to be on and was like, he's kind of funny. Like, I don't think I hate him. And then my love for him steadily snowballed to the point where yesterday I considered whether I should ask my boyfriend if Colson was a name that we could use for our future kids. Like, I am obsessed.
but also like Colson's a
MGK.
nice name, like
Right.
regardless. So
Um, like, I am, that man does things to me that I wish he actually did to me. Um, but the show was fucking amazing. He had so many people on tour with him. Travis Barker came out on tour and like played a bunch of songs. And I don't know if you know,
yeah, I saw your picture of Travis Barker and about to lost my mind.
after about 5 songs, MGK goes, "Hey, Travis, do you think you got one more in you?" And we were like, "Okay." And he goes, "Well, all night
I'm
you've
gonna
been playing
cry.
my songs. So I think maybe we should do one of yours." And then the music started, and literally you heard all 50,000 people in the stands gasp. I was in fucking tears, sobbing as 50,000 people and MGK sang along to All the Small Things with Travis Barker on the drums.
I literally saw all of your pictures, and the only thing that I almost said was, "Is that Travis Barker?" And then I was like, "That probably shouldn't be the one thing I took out of all of these pictures that are posted."
Fine, it's fine.
But,
It was.
oh,
And
maybe I'll
Willow
never
was
come back
and,
to
and
close.
Willow was there and did Emo Girl live.
I don't know Willow. I'm sorry.
Willow Smith, like Will Smith's
Oh,
daughter.
yes, I don't
Yeah.
know her music though. I just know her name.
Oh, her music is actually really good. There was she did like
She
whip
did
your
that
hair
hair
back.
flip.
Yeah, she did that hair song and everybody was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." And then she like disappeared for a few years and then she came back as like a really weird, creepy indie pop punk like rock star. And I'm like, I'm
Love that.
so here for it.
She did very good.
Avril, I did miss most of Avril's set, unfortunately, because okay, my understanding of the tour was that it was 44 Phantom, Trippie Redd, Avril Lavigne, MGK in order. But Trippie Redd is from Canton, Ohio, and he went and the whole hometown show thing, he went after Avril before MGK. So I saw Trippie Redd set, which was fine,
Such
but
a
I don't really
oh
like
my
him.
gosh.
I was a little disappointed that it stayed, that it flipped like that. But I did get to see Avril when she came back out to sing Boys Lie, which is my favorite song on the Love Sex album. So I was so in. During Bloody Valentine, he brought 4 kids from the pit up on stage and let them dance on stage with him. And then one kid was wearing sneakers that had his face on it, and he just like picked the kid up on stage and signed his shoe. It was amazing.
I gotta get on this MGK train.
Ugh,
Ugh, especially if Travis Barker's involved. That's all I know that's happening right now. I know
Travis Barker,
April and you missed her, and I know Travis
Travis,
Barker.
yeah, Travis Barker is his best friend. Like
Oh,
Travis has been like helping him write music ever since he like started doing rock stuff. Like Travis is his best friend. Um,
yeah,
and Travis like helped produce the entire album.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
So Megan Fox and Kourtney Kardashian just like hang out being tour wives together.
I love that.
Right. I was sitting in the 300s, but I was sitting in the section directly straight across from the stage. So I had a great view all night. And I had the best seat ever because I just bought a random ticket and was like, I don't care, buy a ticket. And then I was like, I'm gonna be around weird people. I don't know anybody. I'm going to the show by myself. I did. I drove 3.5 hours, went to the show by myself, and drove 3.5 hours home. But I was sitting in this chair that literally is the only chair, like 21-1 chair, wall. That's it. One seat entirely by itself. Last row in the section.
Love that.
So when I started like scream dancing and crying and jumping up and down, no one was behind me and it was great.
That's amazing.
It is the highest I've ever felt in my entire life. And not because everyone there was smoking weed. That was the other thing. I haven't been to an open air, an outdoor concert in a state where weed is legal before.
Oh,
So it was a very strange
I
experience. Just
mean,
like,
I went to an outdoor concert in New Orleans when weed wasn't legal there, and it was still just all weed.
I mean, but like, so when I went to the Chance the Rapper concert a few years ago, everybody in the audience was high, which doesn't surprise me. And
Right.
I'm sure everyone on the lawn was like secretly smoking weed. But Trippie Redd and MGK straight up lit blunts on stage and were smoking on stage. Like MGK had a fucking like blunt in his mouth for most of the show.
That's so funny. It's a wild time to be alive.
I was like, this man, he did a costume change on stage, took his full fucking pants off and changed pants on stage. I have a
Oh,
picture. One of those pictures I posted on Facebook is of the Jumbotron when he's bent over in his underwear.
I have never felt more disconnected from reality than when someone started talking about a concert that I knew like one person who was like a guest at the concert. Like I have to get into this because we do like this
Oh,
music, and so like I bet I'd like him.
it started very slow. I liked one song and then I was like, but he kind of sucks. And then I liked another song. And then I just realized that like I had a playlist that was nothing but his songs. Then I was like, I should probably just buy
So
this
what
ticket because
album should I
uh,
add to my Spotify?
I would say if you really want to get what I get out of MGK, you should add Ticket to My Downfall, which is his 2020 album.
Tickets to My Downfall. I love it.
Yes.
Done.
Mainstream Sellout is the 2021 or 2022, like the newest album, and it's good. But most of the songs that like really made me realize that I wanted to have children with MGK were on the 2020 album.
Yeah, I don't think I will have quite the same reaction, but I also do not want children.
You don't
Um,
want children, and also your type isn't tall, skinny, tattooed men with hair that's too long.
I mean, okay, maybe not hair that's too long, but I was in love with Avril. I mean, Avril. I love Avril Lavigne. Don't get me wrong. I was in love with Adam Levine for entirely too long. Like I still.
That's
I
true.
mean, he's
Adam
tall,
Levine,
skinny Tad. I mean, he's not that tall, but he's like skinny Tad.
yeah, no, but like MGK and Bill Kaulitz are like a different species of human. And Pete Davidson, something about those men that like shouldn't be attractive, but are to me.
Fair. I don't know. I'll give it a go. I'll let you know my
Okay.
feelings.
Now that I've just spent like 20 fucking minutes talking about MGK,
Yeah.
which
Well, what else
is
is new?
fine because I've done that for most of the day today. Um, who are you?
Well, I am branching out in my life. because I don't do that enough, apparently. Um, and tomorrow I am going to my first Yankees game.
Oh,
I have never been to a baseball game because we didn't really have a baseball team. We have like minor league in New Orleans, but otherwise don't really have baseball teams. And I never kept up with baseball. I was always into football. I'm still into football, don't get me wrong. But
see, I will say, I love baseball. I'm much like, if you made me pick, I would pick football, but I can watch football and hockey on TV. I can't watch baseball on TV, but baseball games might be some of the best experiences.
I've heard they're really fun.
Yeah.
And I'm going with, so the bar company I work with is Stout. And I learned they got 150 tickets for our company. And we're getting there like an hour and a half early and have like open bar and open food for like an hour and a half before the game starts. And so I will be leaving my office job early to make it to this hour and a half of said free drinking and food. And it's like 7 people from our bar, so like I don't know. Well, my old manager is at another bar now, but he's going. So like I know a few other people that are going to be there,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it's just the people that I know a few people at my bar, and it's gonna be lit. I was gonna go get me a nice jersey and a hat to make it look like I belonged, and now I'm like, if there's a Medell's close enough to me on my lunch break, I might stop in and get like a hat because
Yeah.
I didn't do that today, and that today was the day, and I work all day tomorrow and go straight from there. But I'm
Yeah.
actually very excited. My manager asked me if I liked baseball, and I told her I liked sports because I do.
Who
My
who are the
manager,
Yankees playing tomorrow?
Tampa Bay,
Oh,
because
I
that
love
didn't mean
the
anything to
Rays.
me, but I said, ooh, Tampa Bay.
I love the Rays.
Well, I will be watching them. Hopefully lose the Yankees. Although when I first moved here, I texted Jamie, like Caitlin's husband Jamie, and I said, I think I have to start liking baseball because that's what everyone in New York likes. Teach me how baseball works because he's a huge Red Sox fan.
And I'm a
And
huge Cleveland Guardians fan, and so and my grandma's a huge Red Sox fan, and we do not Yankees. We do
he,
not approve.
right, so none of this means anything to me except he told me I could not be a Yankees fan. I had to be a Mets fan. And I said, sure, I have no strong feelings. So
Um,
I'm
yeah,
a Mets.
okay. I will say I'm not a Yankees fan. Don't like the Yankees. Don't root for the Yankees. But I would go to a Yankees game just to watch Aaron Judge play in person because he is a phenomenal baseball player.
I
So,
do not know who he is. I asked Brian whose jersey I should get if I were to get a jersey. He's one of our bartenders that's going, and he's like hella into baseball. And he listed like 4 names. The only one I recognized was Derek Jeter, and I was like, oh, I'll get that one.
yeah, but Jeter's not playing currently. He's retired.
Well, why did you tell me to get his jersey then?
Because he's like the best player to ever play, but he's a retired player. Don't get his jersey. If
So
you're
can I
getting
get
one
this
jersey,
Judge guy?
what Judge? Aaron Judge, his jerseys are probably hella expensive, but yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
I
We'll
think
see what happens. I may show up in a t-shirt and a
who's
baseball cap.
what team? There's one other player that's like really, really big in baseball right now, and I don't know what team he's on.
I know it's really funny because me and Lisel are going together, and she's she's Latina, but I don't remember where she's from exactly. And but so when she doesn't know anything about baseball either, and so when she went to the Mets game, she got a jersey, and she just picked the one that sounded the most
Okay.
Spanish. So when we were asking Brian what jerseys we should get, she's like, "Does someone's name sound really Spanish? Because I'm gonna get that one." And then it turns out she
A,
also
a
got
lot of.
Alonso, who turns out to be like the whitest player on the team for the Mets. So
Oh, good. I would say, yeah, Aaron, I'm looking at the current active roster for the Yankees. I would say either, personally, I would either, no, I would Aaron Judge, absolutely.
all right, I will think about that. I want to get one of those really cute ones that have stripes and buttons on the front.
Yeah,
So we'll see what happens.
that's fine.
I'll
If
see
you're
how
going,
stressed I am when I go to buy one.
if you buy a jersey and it's a Judge jersey, I will forgive you because he's a great baseball player. But also, I do not approve of the Yankees.
I don't like them, so I was told I don't, but I want to feel like I fit in when I get there.
Okay, that's fair.
But worst comes to worst, I'll just get a baseball cap and that's fine probably. Um, yeah, so that's my new news is that I'll be leaving work early to go to the game tomorrow, which means I should go in early and we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just go in on time. Um, switch things up a bit.
Do
Um,
something fun.
yeah. So yeah, another update. I've started watching and almost finished because it's only 6 episodes. Hawkeye. I'm trying to watch the new Marvel stuff just so I'm like up to date.
Mhm.
So I'm watching
I
Hawkeye, which I
love Hawkeye.
really like, but I also love Haley Steinfeld. I did not realize she was in it. I love her so much.
I finally finished season one of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, I haven't still. I gotta go watch the last episode. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I started rewatching American Horror Story, and now I've seen the first 4 seasons now. I didn't rewatch 3 and 4, so I only watched 2 seasons in the past couple of weeks. Um, but I watched a couple of seasons, then I went to watch Hawkeye, and then I was gonna go back and watch season 5. I want to get caught up on American Horror
Wait,
Story too.
oh my God, sorry. I know that our talking about our lives time has gone much longer than it usually does. But in December of us doing this podcast, when I was watching Hawkeye when it was on live, I told you there was something I needed to talk to you about, but then
Oh,
you
this is
started
why I
laughing
brought it
awkward.
up.
Adam Pascal
This is not why I brought it
in no, Adam Pascal, like from Rent, singing in the first episode of Hawkeye when they're at the Avengers the musical. That's
up.
Adam Pascal singing.
I did not even notice.
Yep, he is the lead in Avengers the musical.
That is
But the
hilarious.
same time that this was airing was when Pretty Woman was at Shays and I was working with him.
Oh,
That was one of the reasons why I was on such a crazy Adam Pascal bender last year.
that tracks, yeah. No, I brought it up because one of the main characters in the show who plays Haley Steinfeld's mom is Vera Farmiga.
Yeah.
And I did not know that either. The only person I knew was in the show was Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, and like his family. So like I didn't know anybody else that was in it.
Was
Um,
that really her?
yes,
Huh. Now
I
that you
saw it
say
and I was
that,
like,
oh yeah, no, it definitely was.
yep, yep, 100%.
Huh.
Vera Farmiga living it.
Huh.
She did a great job. Very different role.
Very different role. Really liked her in that role.
I did too.
Um, but yeah, no, I brought it up because I wanted to talk to you about Avengers the musical, but then I couldn't because you hadn't watched Hawkeye yet.
Yes, that is correct.
I would,
Also, one of my
I would like,
coworkers at the office keep trying to. Oh, sorry. What?
I would like Avengers the musical to happen in real
I
life.
think I would. I'm
Okay.
not sure yet.
Pat Pasek and Paul, who wrote the music for Dear Evan Hansen, wrote the songs that they used for Avengers the musical.
Oh, that'd
Yeah,
be incredible then.
yeah.
Yeah, I am trying really hard to get caught up on Marvel before I go back to my Marvel rewatch because one of the guys in my office really keeps trying to spoil everything for me, and I have threatened his life so many times that I should probably stop doing that. But
Dan Dan has threatened my life so many times because I have refused to watch the last three episodes of Strange New Worlds, the Star Trek series, um, for like a month now. He's like, "Did you watch them yet?" And I was like,
mm,
"Not yet."
getting through now.
Keep forgetting.
I mean, I've actively been watching like one season of the new show a week for like Marvel, so I'm not that far behind. And I'm like, you can wait or go talk to someone else about it.
Right.
And I've been very mean to him about it.
That's fine. As you should, really.
Because how dare you try and ruin a Marvel show for me? How dare
Facts.
things that don't ruin my life um, are being spiritual most of the time. I mean, every now and then I'm like, why?
No, sometimes they ruin my life. In fact, most of the time you tell them to me and I want to punch you.
Like,
Because
well,
they're
it's a good thing I'm too far away from you then. Um, so tonight's Thriller Thursday, spiritual AF. Be soft. Do not let the world make you hard. Do not let pain make you hate. Do not let the bitterness steal your sweetness. I was like, yeah, I probably should like take that under advisement in my own life. So,
Do not let the world make you hard.
sorry.
Rude.
Right.
Rude.
Mm. So I feel like it's a really hard standard when you live in like, especially like in New York City, like in any city really,
Yeah.
and then like working and like with
Right.
people.
And like the year I lived in New York City might have been the worst year of my life, and it might have ruined my ability to be a person
Yeah, well, New York has changed me and for the better. I know it has. To reference,
because I knew you.
it is because I knew you, and New York. It's because I knew New York too. Um, but yeah, we're just very different people in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see. I'll take it under advisement.
Okay.
Follow
Fair
up
enough.
if I choose to abide by it. Um, but what I do choose to talk about, I do not want to abide by this. I just want to talk about it.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I tried and it went real south real fast.
Yeah, you tried, and that's what matters.
I know. So this week we have watched Bates Motel season 3, episode 1. We are almost halfway through the series. Isn't
Damn.
it crazy?
I just to preface before we actually talk about the episode, I remembered, well, not remembered because it was 2 weeks ago. We said at the end of season 2 that that season could have been a series finale. And I was very, very concerned as to where they were going to go to make this story keep going. And I expected none of these things.
No, yeah, no.
Just before we even get started, zero of this episode was expected.
Yes, yes. I have feelings. We'll get to them. This episode was called A Death in the Family. You will never guess who died because I did not. Um, until you've watched it. That is not where I agree. It's not where I thought they were going.
No.
The air date was March 9th, 2015. It was rated 8.1 out of 10, which to be fair is a little high
I
based on
would say so too.
how some of the other episodes were rated.
Yeah, I
I
would
thought
give
it
it
was
a solid like 7.7.
I was thinking 7.6. So yeah, like we're right on the
Yeah, it
um,
was good. It wasn't bad, but it was definitely a season intro episode. Like there was a lot of things that I didn't feel connected to.
and it was also like this is a show we accidentally made a season finale for or a series finale for last season and now we have to figure out where we're going next. Like
Yeah, it
that's
didn't.
kind of how it felt to me.
Yeah.
Um, but you'll be happy to know that the number one song is no longer happy.
Because we're in a whole new year.
We're in a whole new world. And the number one song is one of my personal faves,
Oh boy.
Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars.
I might hate that song more than I hate Happy.
I love that song, but I'm so in love with Bruno Mars. Like, would marry him tomorrow, probably.
My sister's ex-boyfriend of 9 years looks exactly like Bruno Mars.
Okay, but does he also like sing like him or dance like him? Because that's where all of my like. Let's
No,
be fair. I mean, he looks fine. His voice is what I would like to hear.
that's how I've always felt about Neo. Neo is an attractive enough man, but Neo singing, 10 out of 10.
I'd give him like a 9 out of 10, but agreed, he's great. I love Neo. Um, the number one movie is one I still haven't seen, the live action Cinderella, which
Oh
first
shit,
of all
I
didn't
haven't watched that either.
didn't have a lot of great ratings when it came out. So I am a little. I
No.
mean, it's a Disney film, so like that's probably why I got number one. But
Yeah, no, now that you say that, I haven't watched that either.
Caitlin did watch it like 2 years ago or something recently, and she was like, "No, it was not bad. You should watch it."
I've heard it if you're not expecting groundbreaking, it's fine. Like it's good. It's not.
I've heard decent reviews, but it's just like
Yeah.
when it came out, it was like no one talked about it. When they did, they were just like, oh. I was like, okay. I don't remember it being that big of a deal in my life when it came out, which is
No.
shocking. So,
Yeah.
but also like going back, this is a little off. I didn't remember like I liked the first Cinderella movie fine. Big fan of the mice and all of that in the film, making the beads and whatnot. I went back and watched all three Cinderellas in a row recently, like a couple years ago.
Cinderella 3, A
Oh
Twist
my
in
god,
Time is hands down the best movie. It might
masterpiece!
it might be one of my top 10 favorite Disney cartoons ever. Like
So
masterpiece. M-
that like trilogy is
20 out of 10
incredible.
20 out of 10 most underrated Disney movie ever. That is actually
Absolutely.
Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time.
I was so shocked when I watched all of them.
Well, because Cinderella 2 isn't great. It's an anthology movie,
But
and
it's
to
not
be fair,
terrible
it's
either.
not terrible. And some of the stories in it, like the story about Anastasia and the baker, so cute. But it was an anthology movie, and nobody really loved that. So when Cinderella 3 came out, they were like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. So good. No, it was straight to DVD, I think, too, the third one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and like,
20 out of 10.
oh
20
my
out of 10 would
gosh.
recommend.
If you have not, forget live action Cinderella. If you have not watched Cinderella 3, do it immediately.
Immediately.
You will not be disappointed.
But also, to be fair, in terms of my mental well-being, in March of 2015, um, that's when I shaved my head.
that makes sense.
So I don't think I was watching Disney movies in the theater.
Yeah, you know, that makes a lot of sense. I was getting ready to graduate college.
That's
So I was working a lot and applying to law schools a lot. It's having a little bit of a stressful time in my life.
yeah.
So,
I was working in theater and at Dairy Queen and at Shays and hating everyone and trying to date someone who clearly didn't want to date me, but I didn't understand that at the time. Um, that's a fun story for not the podcast. And then I shaved my head. So like,
working, I actually did have good jobs. I was working at Bath and Body Works, which adored working there. Like the people were great, the company was great, incredible. And you make your own schedule, which is phenomenal. Love that.
I
I was
love
also
that for real.
working for the football recruiting office, which was super fun. Um, and I liked it. And then that was a pretty coasty semester, I feel like. Um, the most stressful part was applying for law school.
Which, I mean, your final semester of college really kind of, unless you're like doing a master's, like, or like something where you have to write a thesis, and you should save all your electives for the end and make your last semester a
Well,
coasty semester. Like, that's what you should do.
so yes, but I was a music major for a year and a half. And so when I transferred to business, I was like, I have to take just business classes so I can graduate on time still. And so my
Fair.
last semester was a lot of like group projecty business stuff. But there was this girl named Rachel who was like my partner for everything. And she was so on top of it all. Like we would plan to meet for a day to discuss what we were going to do. And I'd show up and she'd have the PowerPoint done. And I'm like, all right, great. I didn't have to do anything, but like I tried. It wasn't like I was like the lackey or like, like I didn't lack in doing stuff, but and I also did an independent study where we like created an entire business summer camp for the school, which I think was active for a couple of years, but I wasn't there ananymore, so I don't know. But
So
so it was a
I
while.
just I just verified I didn't actually shave my head until April of 2015.
It was birthday.
The weekend that this show came out was the weekend that I was performing in the really racist version of Othello. And so I was just super, super drunk for that whole weekend.
Well, speaking of racism, on this day was the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday March in Selma, Alabama. Don't worry, it gets better.
I just thought something, went to say it, and then said, this is going to be published on the internet forever, and stopped myself.
If you wanted to like jot that down, I do want to know what it is later.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I will write it down because it
Thank
was
you.
a really funny comment that I then, not that it's even like inappropriate, it's just not necessary.
Right, I understand. This is also when the Apple Watch debuted.
Oh,
Um, That was 7 years ago, apparently.
Yeah.
Um, and then I got my first one this past Christmas because I am behind the times all of the time. And then last but certainly not least, explorers of a stalactite cave in Galilee found a small collection of 2,300-year-old silver coins and jewelry believed to have been hidden by Alexander the Great of Macedonia. I found that
Very,
fascinating.
very nice. I like.
It's a weird day. Lots happening all over the spectrum.
Yeah.
Um, Good times though. I mean,
Right.
mostly. I mean, they probably had a good time at the 50th anniversary.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Um, director, samesies. We still have Tucker Gates for it
Good.
now and for always, I'm assuming. Um, Watch it be like next week, it's not him anymore, but going to assume it will be. Same writers, aside from they've now added Philip, mm, I want to say Bussier. So we've added the one writer, Philip Bussier, Busier. I assume that's how you pronounce it. He is for this episode, he's an uncredited staff writer.
Okay.
But when I looked at what he's known for Bates. So I'm guessing he's going to come on as a heavier writing role.
Okay.
Um, and he also has written on Preacher, which I have not seen, but I have
But
heard
I've
of
heard amazing things about that show.
really good things about that show.
Yeah.
And Shameless, which
Okay.
is fun. Have you watched Shameless yet?
Yeah. And not, I haven't watched all the way through, but I've watched episodes here and there. It's good.
I watched like 7 seasons. There's like 1,000 though. So,
Of course.
and as soon as one of the main characters left, I won't spoil it for anyone. It kind of went downhill for me because
That's
they were
fair.
the reason I was like watching the show.
Was it Emily Rossman's character?
Yes. Um, so I'm gonna guess we're gonna see him as a writer more often since he's known for Bates. Um, yeah. Oh, son of a gun. I forgot to talk about the person I was going to talk about. I didn't save my notes, so I will. We're going to do this on the fly because I did pick out a person to talk
Fantastic.
about. My bad, guys. I will. Fun fact, side note, while I'm pulling this up, one of my friends, Antonio, is in town, and
Okay.
I met him through the And That's Why We Drink group, and he's super fun. Love him. And he was showing us last night that he has an IMDb page, which is fun. And because he has a film coming out next year, a short film. And so now he's like the top of my search list on IMDb because I was like, find it. Here's my
The thing about IMDb is that like once
I'm sorry, Sadie knocked my mic over.
I saw that. Once you search something, it like stays at the top of your search list, no matter how many times you search other things. Like the app is weird that way.
Unless it's Bates Motel, because I always have to hunt it down.
No, I know, but so like Stargate, I search Stargate
Right.
basically every other day, and
Yeah.
it's the fifth thing on my list
Mhm.
because my recent searches come up more. So
Right.
like Michael Eklund is ahead of that. Tin Man,
Oh, yes, yes.
Last Night in Soho,
Mhm.
and my friend Sam. Because
Well,
I was my dad started watching Blue Bloods, and I was trying to figure out what season
mm,
Sam was on Blue Bloods.
my Mimi loves Blue Bloods.
My friend Sam, who I acted with in New York, who like I am actually genuinely like not just like did a show with her, like we were interns together, and we
Right.
like I adore her. She
I'm so sorry. Sadie has wrapped herself up into my bag.
Sam, not Sam, Sadie. I was talking about Sam and then I said Sam, but
Okay.
Sam she was a recurring character in like 5 or 6 episodes of Blue Bloods in
Aw,
season 8, I think.
I love that. Antonio has not been in anything that's been released yet, but he's worked. I mean, he's worked in like theaters and stuff for a while, and but he lives in Phoenix. But
I love that.
he's got a short film. They made fun of me last night because I have a friend who like does film and stuff too, and so he's been doing a lot of short films that are coming out to film festivals. And so when I was looking up at Antonio's IMDb, I was like, I saw the film. I was like, oh, is this like a real person that's like coming to the world film, or is this like film festival? And I thought Noelle was gonna fall off her seat laughing at me. And I was like, no, but that's like a valid question. Like it's coming out in 2023. I have no idea if it's coming out to like where
Uh,
I can see it or not.
right.
Um,
Not to say that like film festival films aren't real, but like if I
like
don't have
I
access
can't
to it,
exactly. Right. There's a
uh,
film festival for now, but it may come out more more out in the world later. Are you switching wines?
because I had two half bottle, like two not
Is it
full
bottles?
bottles, and so I'm just drinking everything that I'm finishing off.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Um, okay, so our special guest this week, who I am so sorry I did not write anything down on, is where's her name? Tracy Spiridakos. She plays Annika. Why do I keep moving around? This is what I
She
write
looked
down before I go.
she looked hella familiar.
Annika Johnson. She is. So she played Party Girl number 2 in Rise of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. You would not have
Nope.
seen that. But she was also in Revolution, which I believe I watched a part of, or I remember it coming out at least. Um,
I have no.
it's a show that I heard good things about. She's
I've
been
heard
on
good things. I just never watched them.
Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med. She's been on all those. Oh, she was Nikki Carpenter in The New MacGyver. That's where you would know her
Oh,
from.
that's where I know her from. Okay.
Yeah. So that is her. She is I mean, she's of Greek descent, in case you could not tell by her last name. Um,
Right.
da, 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 da. Oh, she was in Being Human. Um, she was engaged to John Core, who was also in Being Human. And yeah, that seems to be all of the information that I know about her. She was born so she was born in Canada, but she lived in Greece for 9 years. Um, yeah, so those
Okay.
are all informations about her. And
Hmm.
now we can get into the episode.
Okay.
Death in the Family. And I just put, of course, we start season 3, waking up in bed with Norma and Norman.
I just wrote gross. That was the first time I was just like gross. I can't. I hate the show.
Because why
Gross.
would we do it any other way?
Gross.
And then we have Dylan searching for Norman, trying to tell him it's time to get up. And he walks in, and he is like super uncomfortable with it naturally. And so when Norman comes downstairs, he's talking to her, and he's like, "You can't do this." He's like, "Your child is an 18-year-old man."
She was like, it's not weird. He was, and I was like, no, it's fucking weird. It's real
Yeah.
fucking weird,
And
man.
Dylan's like, "Yeah, yeah, it's weird." So yeah, and while this is happening, Norma gets a phone call from Boise, Idaho, which is we find out very quickly that the death in the family is her mother who has died. And Norma on the phone like takes a beat, and then she's just like, "Okay, no thanks." I was like, "What? I don't think
I
that's how it
I
goes."
wrote, I said, can you just be not interested in an estate? Like if somebody dies and you're like, no, thank you, I'm not interested in the estate money. What happens to it?
I mean,
Or can you?
there's so
I was like legally, can you just be not interested?
yes, but you have to like do something about it. So like, are you okay? You just
Yeah, I'm trying to put my hair up and I'm not my
oh
and I have to move my I had to move
um
my headphones to do that.
yeah. So with an estate, there's like a lineage and whatnot of how it they follow
Well, I mean,
probate, they follow the will,
truthfully,
and
I'm pretty familiar with the state law just because of everything that we've been doing with my
right.
great grandma's estate. But I
You
don't think you
can
can just you can sign away your rights, but you can't just say sorry, not interested and
no,
hang
no,
up the
yeah.
phone.
You have to like you can refuse your rights. You have to do it a little more formally. I understand than just no thanks. It at least has to be in writing. But then depending on the state and how they handle probate, it will either go to, sometimes it'll just pass on like to the next person, but sometimes
Yeah.
it will go to like her kids, depending on how it works. And so like obviously this is a state that does not do that, because it did not go
Well, well,
to
what would
Dylan and
happen,
Norman.
I'm guessing, is that if theoretically she actually technically legally signed
Mhm.
away her rights, it would go entirely to
Yeah,
Caleb.
yeah, that's what would happen. It would go to the next in line, and because if there was nothing
Well,
in the will, if
because
there was
because
nothing,
the estate would probably be split equally between her and Caleb, and then if she signed away her rights, in it would just all go to him. If he
yeah.
also said no, then they would like reach out to Dylan and Norman.
Well, in some states, it counts you kind of as like a death if you refuse your rights. And so like instead of going to the next person in line, it would go to her next person in line, which would be Dylan and Norman. And so it depends on the
But
state.
that also depends on the way that also depends on the way the will is written too.
Not necessarily, unless they have a backup plan, because
Well, like
if the will just says it goes to
mhm.
these two,
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. But like,
yeah,
if there is a determinant of where it goes after that,
right,
like if
yeah, of
there's a
course,
if predeceased by clause in the will,
yes.
then it would be.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm gonna guess they were like, we're not gonna super get into estate law because there's a lot that goes on there. So everything just goes to Caleb
Yeah,
because that's the easiest thing to do.
that works.
But yes, yeah, estate law gets a little dodgy sometimes. So fun times. Um, yeah. So she's just like, no thanks. So we're not doing that. We're not a part of that now.
Yeah,
And we learned that Norman is starting his senior year, which, yes, tracks. That's where we're at now.
yeah.
Um,
Of course, it confuses me that he's starting senior year and he's already 18.
I mean, that happens sometimes. If there were people like, depending on when you started, I had people that like
I
the
guess if you like turn
senior
18 in like
year.
August, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. So I mean, I had that happen in I had people I was, or if maybe they got held back or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
We don't know his entire school history, um, but
true, true.
I wasn't too thrown off by that.
I wasn't super thrown off. I was just like, oh. But I
What
did think, I go, wait, has he been to school since he murdered that bitch?
So
Oh,
I
nope.
also had this question, and we will get to that in about 5 minutes
Yeah.
because I have a whole thing about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
My answer was no, he has not.
right. My answer is that I didn't fully remember, but so what I was surprised by was when they're walking to the car to get Norman some off to school. Norma's just like, "Oh, by the way, my mom died. All right, let's go to school." And I was like, "That's not how you do that."
No.
Um, I understand that he's never met her and that you haven't seen her in 20 years and that you're feeling some type of way about it, but
But
that's just a little bit much.
yeah.
Um and now we get to the school and he's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going. And he's like refusing. And Norma just like yanks him out of the car. And I'm like, okay, obviously you're feeling some type of way about this because you never would have reacted that way. Were
Yeah.
you not in a mood about your mom? Like,
Yeah. I had two thoughts about this particular scene.
yes.
And the one was that this curly hair look is not it for Norma. She looks not put together. Like I
Especially after watching Hawkeye, where she looks
right,
very put
no.
together.
Yeah, like Vera's hair being curly is not the problem. It's just this type of curl and Norma's personality. It's
Yeah.
very obviously a not put together thing. Did
No,
not
she's
like
a little
look.
unhinged right now.
And then my second thing was how fucking embarrassing.
Right? It's wild. But I mean, not that I mean he cares to an extent because like who doesn't care, but also like he hates everyone there. So like
Right, but like I wouldn't want to be her or him or any of the
no,
students watching this in this
no,
situation.
absolutely
None of the people involved in this situation would I be comfortable being.
nothing is good. Nothing is good. And then he goes to lunch and he's texting Emma, who is not there. And this is when, yes, this is one of my fun facts, but go ahead.
No, no, no.
Okay.
I call bullshit on the video editing in this scene because he sent a text and it showed up as him sending it
Yes.
on the left side of the phone.
That was one of my fun facts. Yes, that
I
was
literally rewound it and rewatched the scene because I was like, no, that's not how phones work.
correct.
And
Yeah, that was an error in the show.
I never rewatch scenes. I just assumed that I saw things wrong. And I was so pissed off that I rewound it and was like, no, no, no. He just sent a received text. That doesn't work.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Um, that was
You know how I never notice anything and I'm like, oh
I
wow,
know.
I didn't see that. I fucking saw that.
Yeah. That one got me too. It threw me off a bit. And then you start seeing images like visions of Miss Honey, whose name is Watson, but I'm gonna keep calling her Miss Honey anyways.
But she's
And
so not
this
Miss Honey. She's a rapist.
I know they're very different people, but she has that same look, and she's kind of that way as the Blue Fairy. So like, it just it keeps her there for me.
I get it, but
I know. And that was when I said, "Has he been back since Miss Honey was murdered?" And I put a star because I meant to look it up, and then I did not. You would think
he
I would put stars and then follow them.
he
Um,
fully has not.
okay, can you
Um,
recap us because I have forgotten.
no, so the murder happened after prom or like the fine formal, like the end of year dance.
Mm-hmm.
And they never, and because she got murdered, then they had like weird funeral stuff, and then it was summer, and I don't think he ever like actually physically went back into the building at the end of school.
That makes
And they,
sense. That tracks. I just wasn't sure. I couldn't remember 100%.
yeah, I didn't like this is just based on context clues from
Yeah.
this episode, not like, but the way he reacts to the shrine to her and the way he
Yeah.
reacts with his hallucinations, I was like, he fully has not been in this building since this happened.
No, I think you're correct. I just wasn't sure if it was like an error and they like just dove into it after it could have happened before or if it like actually had happened.
No, it does make sense that it didn't happen.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so now he's seeing her and then we go into the credits because we've had another long opening for the show.
I wrote hallucinations coming in hot and heavy because that was
Um,
like fucking intense too.
was and now it's not just his mom he's seeing, which is a little concerning. A lot,
A
lot
little,
concerning.
a little concerning.
Look, look, it's a lot concerning. So we had another long intro here, which I thought was fine. I didn't feel like it was out of place.
It didn't feel, it felt very through line. Like it wasn't like a bunch of different scene stories. Like it just was like Norman getting ready for school, the morning of school, but all the weird things that happened with that.
But also, they really chopped the credits down. Like, I
They
don't know if
did.
that happened the same way because I saw like 1 second of credit and then I had a commercial and then I had like 1 second of credit and I was like, I'm gonna guess that's 2 seconds and that's all it was,
It was a short credit scene. Like it wasn't, I don't know.
which is interesting. And I know, I mean, I know some shows do that throughout, but it already wasn't that long of an intro, like a credit intro
Yeah.
to start with. So,
True, true,
um,
true.
but it was fine. I mean, I don't have any opinion one way or another on it, other than
Right.
I'm interested. Um, so now we go to the wheat fields, and we are shockingly watching Alex stand with a DEA officer who is burning everything down,
Yeah.
all of it. And I
What
was
the
like,
shit was that?
what? I was like, this has been their livelihood. This is what makes their town run, and we're just gonna burn it all down. I was like, all right. I was like, and so I want to know. I don't think we fully grasp how this came to be. And I'm
No.
wondering how it even got to the DA agents. Like, I'm sure we'll come back. I hope
Oh,
we
I'm
come back
sure.
to that.
I'm sure.
I'm sure someone snitched, is what I'm
Um,
guessing.
honestly, my theory, do you want me to tell you my theory now or should we save it to the end?
Save it till the end.
Okay,
But don't forget.
very well.
Um, okay. And so then we pop over to Dylan's place.
See, I was
And
confused because I was like, if the wheat farms are burning down, what is Dylan doing? He told us mommy was going to work. I was very confused.
well, he's still trying to keep his like, you know, his like own life going aside from all the chaos.
Yeah.
So we get him, and Gunnar shows up and is asking for a job, and says Remo sent him, and he's like, yeah, I don't have anyone. I don't have room for that. I'm just by myself. I'm fine. He's like, yeah, that's what Remo said you'd say. I was like,
Now, can I tell you, this scene wrapped me up because Gunnar, the actor, is Remo, the actor's son. And I was like, my dad told me to come to
right,
the
exactly.
show.
That's exactly. So I forgot for a minute that Gunnar is not Remo's son. It's just
Right.
the actor is Ian Tracy's son. And so
Yeah.
I immediately watched it that way too.
I was like, my dad said that
Yes.
you were gonna need some help with the farm.
Like, let me call you into my aunt runs this company and I want my child to go work with her. So I'm just gonna call in a favor.
Yeah,
Real nepotism, but it wasn't really because they're not actually related on the show. So
correct.
then we go back to the motel and Norman is just like frantically running through the rain away on the way home. Like, I've never seen someone other than Phoebe from Friends run so chaotically. Like, never. It was insane looking. And like, I get he's stressed and feeling a little insane, but goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Um, and as he runs in and is talking to Norma and telling her everything that happened, um, this very like attractive woman walks in
I
and
said, what the shit is that in those shoes? Because I
yeah,
want them. I want those shoes.
yeah, they were nice. But she shows up to rent a room, and I was like, all right, let's see what's gonna happen here. This isn't gonna be well. Um, Norman is just like in lust with her.
I
He like
said,
saw her and lost it.
I said, ew, Norman, pull yourself together.
Right? Right? And Norma's like, we're not having this. She's like immediately, like, I'm gonna take my son home because
Right.
he needs to be away from here. She didn't say it quite that way, but she was like, we can't have this.
No,
Um,
we cannot.
yeah. And so she gives her a key and she's like, let me know if you need anything. I'll be right back. And she's like, I won't need anything. It's fine. It's like, all right. You know what you're doing. You don't know anything about this town, but you know what you're doing. Fine. And then we go
Fun
to the
fact, she
diner.
definitely then needed things within like 25 minutes of being
Right.
there.
Immediately after. Yeah. And we're at the diner with our dream team, Alex and Dylan. And they're chatting. And Alex is really, really trying to get Dylan to be in charge of everything. And Dylan's like, dude, the DEA just burned everything down. Think I'm gonna stay legal. Like, he's like, I've had my fill of being in charge. I just want to do like my one little section of my 95 plants, help people with glaucoma and anxiety, just make a livable wage. Like, I just want to keep life going.
And Alex is like, okay, but you know, that means I can't help you. And he's like, yeah, but if I'm doing everything legally, I don't need you to help me. Like, it shouldn't be a problem. And Alex is like, no, you're right, it shouldn't be. But
That's not how this town works. And I was
yeah.
like, okay, Alex, you're starting to like be a little threatening, be a little
See, I didn't take it that way. I didn't, there was a little bit of like anxiety on Alex's end, like, but I took it more as like a, you think that that's what's going to happen, but that's not what's going to happen. And I can't help you.
yeah. I don't know. I'm feeling like Alex is kind of trying to threaten him into taking over because he wants to have someone
Maybe, but
he likes there.
maybe, but I take it more as like a bullying tactic because he needs the help than
Yeah,
like a malicious tactic.
we'll see. Stay tuned. We'll see.
Okay.
And we go back to the motel, and as you said, Annika immediately comes back and needs help with something.
Yeah.
Her light, it seems her light bulb has gone out. And of course, no, Norman jumps right on that. And he's like, yep, I'll do it. No problem. She's like, great, let's do this. And I'm like, how old is this woman? Because I think she's older than 18. I don't think she's like 50. I think
No,
she's in
she's
her 20s probably.
probably like late 20s, maybe 30.
Yeah, too old for Norman.
Right.
Um, And so he's asking her like why she's here. And she is just like, I work at parties full of wealthy men. And I was like, okay.
I wrote, this is actually I wrote, she's an escort, which means that imaginary Norma will hate her, and so she will die.
Yes. I was like, this is a really inappropriate conversation to have with an 18-year-old
But
child
also,
that's changing
why
your
does
life.
normal small talk feel so uncomfortable? That whole scene made me so uncomfortable. And then I was like, and then I literally had to stop before they got to her being an escort, just like the conversation about like why she was in town and the light bulb and his mom and like them. I go,
I think
and
she
like him
was
being in
weird though.
school. And I was like, if I eliminate who these two people are and just look at the context and of like the relationship, like client and hotel manager,
Mhm.
and the actual words that they're saying, this is not an uncomfortable
Right.
conversation. And yet somehow it's the most uncomfortable I've ever been.
It is her demeanor, 100%.
See, it was fully both to me. It was
No, for sure. I mean, but Norman's always that way.
right.
Like that wasn't new for us, but I think it felt so much different because she was also that way. And we're not always used to the other character he's speaking to being that uncomfortable
Yeah.
to be around. But also I have a question for this town. She's
Yeah.
like, I'm here because for the parties for the wealthy men. And I'm like, who's left? All the wealthy men have been killed. Like I
No,
don't,
just the ones that we know.
but like this is a small town.
George is still alive.
Who?
George?
Yeah, but like I guess like him and his sister are having a party
Yeah.
with an escort. I don't know. It felt like this feels like a very strange town for her to come to. There have to be better options. Um, so I'm not judging what she's doing, but I'm judging how she's deciding where to go. This is not the place to do it.
Right.
Um, and then we go to Dylan driving down the road. And this is the moment I realized we have so much of Dylan driving down the road at night. Like,
The whole show is just Dylan
that
driving
is
at night.
such a recurring scene for him. And I'm like, okay, a lot happens on the road for Dylan, but like, pick a new lane. Like, I don't know. It just felt a little deja vu like. Um, but then Dylan like pulls over and like jumps out of the truck and has his gun out. And he's like standing behind the truck, like he's about to take someone out. And I was like, what are you doing? Why would you not just keep driving? I think he was at his house and I didn't realize it. But
Yes, he was at the cabin and he
yeah,
didn't. Yeah.
I didn't realize that at first. I was like, what are you doing? This is a terrible idea. And then I said, are you kidding me?
I literally saw it. Why are you back? No.
Because we learn Caleb's back. The last person I wanted to see. I mean, I'm sure there's other people, but I also don't want to see him.
Correct.
Um, and it turns out he's trying to give Dylan some of the estate money that he's gotten. And I'm like, okay, surface level, that's not terrible, but you're
Yeah.
doing it to be manipulative.
Yeah.
No,
Probably.
no question. I have
Yeah.
no doubt that's what he's doing. And Dylan, thankfully,
At this point, I say probably, but then as the episode goes down, I'm like, no, no.
you
Yeah.
always give him a little too much leeway,
I
though.
do. I
And
do.
I never give him anything.
I
It's
know.
nothing for me. And thankfully, Dylan's not having it. And he's just like, nope, nope, we're not doing this. Leave. And he's just like, are you sure? I just want, he's like, nope, I don't need anything from you. I don't want
Yeah.
anything from you.
Correct.
And I was like, good move, Dylan. You're doing swell. Thank you
Hmm.
for holding up as the person I wanted you to be.
Yeah.
Um, and then we go to the Bates home. I just put, oh no. Norma's decided she's going to homeschool Norman because he doesn't want to go to school. And I was like, Norman, do you know anything? How do you just decide for a senior year? It's not even like you're in kindergarten. Like, sure, like early on, if you figure it out, maybe homeschooling, whatevs, or if you have like some training, there is no background to this woman to
Okay.
anything.
Just devil's advocate a little bit here, and not really, but just like my mom worked for a really long time in the office that deals with the homeschooling for the public school district that she works for. And you don't need any qualifications. You can
No, I
just
know.
homeschool your kids.
Yeah, I know. I think it's, I mean, my aunt homeschools her kids. It doesn't have qualifications, but they're younger. And so I'm like, okay, you pick up
Yeah,
and
but like,
younger.
but also like senior year of high school, like while it's much more difficult, the idea of homeschooling and taking classes online while you're working actually doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
I guess not. I
I
really
think
like,
you,
I really don't like the idea that Norma is homeschooling Norman.
oh
I
no,
think
no, no,
it's
she's fucking disgusting. I wrote she gives me the ick so hard, but like the concept of a senior pulling out to finish homeschooling because they're smarter than most of the kids around them anyway,
no,
and they're working,
fine.
like that doesn't even bother me. It's just her.
Right, no, that's totally fine. I mean, one of my best friends, he did like two classes or something and then worked the rest of the day. Like he for
Yeah,
his senior year and he like did online class and stuff. Like,
yeah,
not a problem. My problem is Norma.
correct.
So yeah. And just some choices are being made.
Hmm.
And then I said, great, just what he needs because she decides to make him the motel manager so she can go back to school. And I'm like, what are we doing? What is happening? This is not a
I
child.
don't know
You
how
know
to
this,
pair.
and like, you know, this child has issues, and you know that he blacks out and things happen, and when no one's around, and you want him to run a motel
I mean, just like give him something productive to do and it'll all go away. That's how we
with
parent.
people,
That's how we parent mental health, right?
yeah, with people who are by themselves in the middle of nowhere. Like, you've put him in the worst possible position.
You just don't understand her relationship with her son, Courtney. You know.
You're right. I do not. You are absolutely correct.
Mm.
0% understand it. And then oh, but then we have a little bit of a saving grace. She does tell Norman he can't sleep with her anymore. Not that they haven't spent the whole night in the bed eating popcorn, watching movies. Um, but now he has to get out of the bed and go to his own. And she makes it very clear. Granted, her reasoning that she tells him is because Dylan is a man, and Dylan made it sound like it's more manly to be sleeping by yourself. Not that it's just creepy in general. And I was like, you have the right idea of where it needs to go. The execution's a little weak for me.
Yeah. I
But
mean, but to be fair, a lot of times single moms really do, especially single moms of boys do get to that point where they're like, I might be smothering him because I
right.
don't know the difference in how to
I'm
love a
like,
boy and a girl. And I get that,
totally fair.
but that's not what had happened here.
No, no, that's a very different situation. Yeah, very different. And then we go back to Dylan driving. And he sees Caleb broke down in the middle of the road in the rain.
Hmm.
Which when he pulls up, you see the rain coming down. And then when he gets out of the car, there's no rain. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. But
It's
like
the
the
same problem as Dead Like Me in the Pacific
I know.
Northwest. We just have to be raining all the time, but only we can't actually film when it's raining all the time.
Yeah, and like the car is wet and like it looks like he's been rained on. And I'm like,
No.
and then it keeps raining when they leave. Like it's a whole thing. I'm like, whatever, we can do what we can. So Dylan finally
Mhm.
gives in and takes him to get, hold on, I'm about to sneeze.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And Dylan's like, fine, we're gonna take you to get this part so you can get out of here. He's like, I just don't
Yeah.
want you here anymore, and this seems to be the only way to get rid of you. And
Correct.
so when he goes to get the car part, Caleb's like trying to be all buddy buddy with him and all this. Dylan's like, no, absolutely not. Dylan like immediately shuts it down. And I was like, good for you setting
Yeah.
boundaries. You are
Yep.
making it very clear the only thing you're doing is trying to get rid of him. And this just
Correct.
seems to be the only way to do it.
Correct.
And Caleb is like trying to make Dylan feel bad for him and all this stuff. And he's like, my mom passed away. We didn't have anyone but each other. And I just put all capital letters. I was like, no one feels bad for you, Caleb, you narcissistic asshole. Like, what? I don't understand this mindset.
Yeah, I hated the scene so much that I didn't even take notes.
Yeah, I mean, also though, like, it's probably good that we don't understand any of these mindsets because
Yeah.
they're insane.
Yeah.
But wild, wild. Um, And then we have this brief scene at a bar. Alex is on his day off, just chilling, having a drink. And these two guys who used to be working on the weed farms come up, and they are mad. They are very angry about the DEA agents coming through and burning everything down and killing their livelihood. And they're like, "We've had this for 40 years." And he's like, "If you weren't a cop, I would." And he's like, "What would you do?" And he's like, basically, he's like, "I would beat you right now." And as soon as he like goes to say it, Alex just slams his head on the counter and gets up and walks away. And I was like, okay. I was like, I understand the anger, but you're becoming a little unhinged for me. So
Um, if you had to guess what note I took about this scene, what would you guess?
I would rather not. I would like to pretend, like you said, man, Alex, I can't believe you beat this man's head into the bar. While I know is
I
probably
just
the complete opposite.
I just wrote, fuck, he is so hot.
Yep, that's where I thought we were going. And meanwhile, I was like, red flag. This is where Alex is starting to go off the rails.
I nope, no red flags were raised for me. I was like, yes, do it again.
Thank God for Dan. Who knows where you'd be without
She
him?
just called me and left me a voicemail and then like a bunch of and I can't answer it on the
Right.
podcast, but I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Um, that's all right. If nothing says like SOS danger, then you just
Yeah, I'm sure if it was an emergency, he would also text me.
right, right.
But
So we go back to the motel, and I put, "Yay, Emma! This is the first time we see."
oh, I my note says, oh, there's Emma.
Yeah,
He
so
was
excited.
missing.
And then immediately I said, "No, Emma, please don't die," because we learned she was not at school because her lung capacity. She went to the doctor, and her lung capacity is like bad, bad. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's cool. So she's probably gonna die soon. Like I don't know if it's gonna be this season, but soon enough. And Norman's like telling him about like homeschooling and how like, stoked he is and blah blah blah. And then he's just like, "I want you to homeschool with me." And she's like, "Yeah, I could do that." She's like, "I don't want to make you think I'm copying you." He's like, "No, no, that's great." And then she's like, he's also like, "Oh yeah, I think we should date." I was like,
No, she
"What?"
goes, he says, you were the only thing I liked about school
Right.
anyway. And she goes, if I'm dying, I might as well spend my last years with you. And
Yeah.
then he goes, we should date. And I said, you should what?
Right.
No.
I was like,
I
"Norman, this is
literally said,
weird timing."
what? No. What?
Yeah. I was like, "This is terrible timing, first of all. And now that you're going to spend all of your time together, because not only are you going to be homeschooling together, you'll be working together, and then you're also going to be dating. That feels like a lot of work." And oh, a lot.
Like a lot.
And Emma's like in. She's been waiting for this for ages. And I put, "Oh,
He
sweet
was like,
Emma."
the time's just right. And she goes, the time's been right for a while. And I was like,
Yeah, never. I was like, "No, it is not right. It has never been right. This is terrible." But poor sweet Emma, she's just smitten. She's a smitten kitten. And we go back to the Bates home, and Norma's waiting to talk to Dylan. And we learn a lot about Norma's mother and how she was. And we already knew she wasn't right.
well, yeah.
Um, and we learn that she took a lot of pills all the time and was sedated a lot. So she was basically just not there as a mom.
Which this was hard for me because it kind of validated Caleb's story.
I mean, it validates his story, but at the same time,
I'm not saying Caleb's correct, and I don't think that what Caleb did was correct or how Caleb handled what he did was correct, but there's also that whole like how do you hold people responsible
yeah,
for
of
trauma
course.
when they were never taught any different? Like it's a really I don't like that the show is making me feel bad for people who are very not good people.
Yeah, I do not feel bad for him, but I do think
No.
he is the way he is because of his home
Mhm.
raising.
Yeah.
But there's also the extent of Norma is crazy, but didn't turn out quite the same. Like
Hmm.
Norma at this point wasn't abusive, wasn't like any of those things. And it could have turned out because of the situation they were in. It could have been how you
Okay,
said it. We
but
only had each other.
no, but okay, I just want to argue one point because you said Norma isn't abusive.
No, no.
And
At this point, when everything's happening to her as a child,
oh, okay. So
yeah,
I was gonna say, I would very strongly argue that while it might not be physical, what she is and how she treats her children is absolutely
no,
abuse.
absolutely. That's why I said it
Oh,
this point. I meant like at the point
oh, okay.
whenever Caleb was
Oh,
abusing
like the way
her,
she,
she was
yeah.
not abusing anyone in particular at that time. And so, like, he
From what
still,
we know, from
from
what we
what we
know.
know, and I'm like, and it could have been this relationship where they bonded together because they had no one else. But because Caleb is
Well,
with
okay,
kids,
but devil's advocate again. I'm playing devil's advocate a lot today.
you are.
They, what, I think that there is a possibility that in Caleb's mind, what happened was that they bonded over their pain being their shared thing, and it became a romantic relationship and an incestual relationship because it was so strongly bonded. And it wasn't until things got worse and their mental health declined that it became clear that those were boundaries that were being crossed. Because I don't think, and I know you don't like Caleb, I do think he is manipulative. I don't think he's a good person, but I do think that there is a tinge of the I didn't realize that what I was doing was hurting her. I thought I was protecting her.
So I think that is possible because I do know that is a real thing that happens.
Like
I
I mean
mean,
the fall of the House of Usher, like that Edgar Allan Poe story with the kids. Like sometimes you have that moment where like you two you form a relationship that doesn't make sense because it's the only relationship you know and it's not healthy, and then you remove yourself and that's when you figure out it's not healthy.
and I think there was a point where a line was crossed and he didn't stop still. And
Mm,
so that's why I will not, and I don't think he had the best raising. I think he was not in a good place from the start. I mean, clearly neither of them came out very well in the end.
right.
Um, but I do think I think you could be right that that's how it started. I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
do, and but I also think because of Norma and who she is and how she communicates, I think my interpretation of what happened is that things stopped being consensual in her mind long before she vocalized any stop of them being consensual.
I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
And so in her mind, he did awful things to her, which he did, but
Mhm.
he was unaware of the extent to which she felt that they were awful until it was far too late to do anything about it. And then it was just another person who fucked him over, leading him to be even less able to form relationships.
I think he knew before that point.
No, no, but I
Like,
mean, you know what I mean? Like when you have that one person and they aren't telling you the truth about their feelings about you, and that's the only relationship you have, and then suddenly you don't have that relationship anymore.
mhm.
I'm I'm not defending his actions.
No,
I
of
just
course.
understand how he got to who he is a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes total sense of how he got to where he is. And I
Mhm.
mean seeing his father be abusive. I mean seeing his mother be so sedated all the time. I mean, it makes sense. I
Yeah.
think there's still a part that's on him and I still won't like
Oh
him.
no, 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 no. Absolutely. And you don't have to like him. I'm never saying that you have to like or accept someone's actions. I
Right.
just think that it's always important to understand the reason that they did it and to try to give them grace, whether or not you give them love.
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, it's the same thing we're doing with Norma and Norman.
Yeah.
I mean, we take them through and we're like, this is why Norman's the way he is, but also like
Oh yeah, no, no, no.
not a good person. So
What
like,
Caleb
yeah,
did is a shitty person. If I knew
right.
him in real life, I would not be friends with him. Like,
Absolutely.
also get it?
Right. Yes. Yes. No, I'm with you. Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I follow that. I still will never give him as much grace as you do, but
But I feel like in general, I give people more
you
grace
do.
than you do.
That is very true. That's exactly what I was about to say. You have more leeway than I do. Yes. So after we learn about Norma's mother, we go to Norma, who is chasing off a raccoon, which I guess is a new creature we have there. Didn't realize. I know we're near the woods, but I guess I just didn't think about like raccoons and stuff getting in
I
there.
mean, raccoons live in cities too.
I know. I haven't seen one in so long. Oh my gosh, my other thing's happening. Sorry. And then we hear water running,
Okay. Yeah,
and
me
Norman
too.
goes over, and oh my gosh, my hair is in my face. I am really struggling for a second. He goes over and peeks in the window at Annika, and this is a direct glimpse and reference to him being a peeping tom for against what's her, I keep wanting to call her Janet Crane because it's Janet Lee and Marion Crane. I
Yes.
forgot the first name for a second. This is him watching Marion Crane.
And I literally wrote, what a fucking creeper.
But this is the first, but I'm sure certainly not last we'll see of him being a peeping tom like this because it is such a main storyline in the book.
Yeah.
Um, and then I put, of course, Norma catches him
Right.
because what else would happen?
Are you fucking
Um,
kidding me?
and another thing that I don't know that I've caught before now, but it just like clicked. She always says, instead of saying like, this is bad, you can't do this, this is bad behavior, she just says, this is not normal. She always uses the phrase, this is not normal. And I'm like, okay, now
But
you've separated him from everyone. Instead of saying right and wrong, you're saying you're different because of this. Don't be different. Like, that's not a great approach, Norma.
no,
Not great.
no.
Um,
But also not normal is the understatement of the fucking century.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Like, I just, I don't know. I need to give her parenting tips. I am not a parent and I am not sure I would do well as a parent, but I can guarantee I would do better than she does. So, um, yeah. So then we go to Norma crying in bed, and her mother died, so she's having a meltdown, which makes complete sense. She's been trying to put it
That's
on
that's
all
the thing.
day.
She was like, "I'm so sorry. This is so stupid." And I was like, "It's not stupid. It's actually the like most normal thing you've done so far."
Exactly. Like you tried to fight it and you tried to like go against your feelings and then you had your feelings. Like that's a very normal thing. Like
Correct.
and then Norma has Norman sleep with her again to comfort her.
And then I wrote, "Okay, no, you're not allowed to do that."
And then he says something, oh you silly woman. And I was like, that is icky. I don't
That
know why in particular that was icky.
no, it was extra icky.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know.
It was just
I don't.
very uncomfortable, but thankfully that's where that scene ends. We hop back over to Dylan's place, and Caleb and Gunnar are hanging out, which is a terrible combination. Poor sweet Gunnar has no idea who he's getting involved with. And also, Dylan didn't know Caleb was still there.
Yeah.
And then this is where I realized, and I was like, I
Oh, so
forgot. Yes.
I have one note about the thing, and I got confused because I was looking up the phrase "you silly woman" because it felt like something that like maybe like
Mhm.
um Humphrey
Came
Bogart said
from.
in a movie before, like that
I
feels
had that
right.
feeling too. Yeah.
So I looked it up, but then I just saw that people sell Redbubble stickers that say "Move over, you silly woman" with Norma and Norman's hair outline, and that made me fucking
That's very.
all of the ick.
I
All
don't
of
know.
the ick. But no, my thought before we move to the Dylan and Gunnar Caleb situation, I literally paused it and said, since getting a girlfriend, you have now become a peeping Tom and cuddled your mother.
Yes.
Emma does not deserve this.
No. And this gave me question. I don't remember Gunnar and Emma stopping seeing each other. I know they were meant to just be a fling, but Gunnar obviously hasn't left yet. And so we just aren't going to talk about it.
Maybe Emma's also not a good person.
I mean, look, Emma's about to die.
So
So,
that's an excuse.
I mean, yeah.
So serial killers are okay if they have brain tumors.
I don't think she's a serial killer bad person. It's very different things. I just think that she was sleeping with Gunner and then decided she was gonna date like Norman without telling Gunner. And like that's not nice. But also
That's
she's
not
about
nice.
to die. So very different standards.
Look, it's 11 o'clock.
I know, dude, I am so tired. We are almost there. Do not worry.
I
Caleb and Gunner are hanging out, and Dylan's just like, what is everyone doing here? Like, why are we all here? And has no idea why Caleb's still there. And he like sends Gunner away so he can talk to Caleb. And Caleb's like, oh yeah, I have like a day or two. I ordered a new part. Something else went wrong. And he's like, a day or two. And he's like, we didn't discuss this. And it was a whole thing. But it was actually kind of a quick scene for what was happening.
Yeah.
So then we go to Norman and Emma. And if this wasn't Norman, this would have been a very sweet conversation because he was like, "So how do we do this?" And she's like, and she thinks they're talking about homeschool, so she's like, "I'm gonna sit here, we'll study, we'll do this." He's like, "No, no, no. How do we date?" And she's like, "Just like normal, like we hang
Like
out."
go on dates, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I've just never been on one." And I was like, "That's kind of sad." Like, especially because
Yeah.
he's been in these like other traumatic situations with women and girls, and like, although I beg to differ that him and what's her face Cody never were like on a date.
I don't,
Um,
yeah.
but like fine, we'll step away. They didn't like go to dinner in the movies, but
Yeah.
they like hiking dates and like woodsy dates,
Yeah.
datey. But yeah, and then Annika walks back in. I was like, Norman, you are so dumb. Because she's like, can you help me find this place? I have to go to work. And he's like, I'm going to town. I'll just come with you. And I'm like, you've just drooled over a woman in front of your girlfriend, your new
I
girlfriend.
I literally was like, I would throw a fucking fit.
I thought Emma was going to, and I was ready for it. And then she did not. I think she was just too stunned to do anything.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
Yes. And and then we're getting in the car with her. And she is so inappropriate still. She's
Yeah.
just like casually talking about sex with him and how this and that, and it doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, well, this
I I get it. I my note said, is he gonna fucking kill someone in the first episode of the season?
maybe, maybe. And like, she had very much Miss Watson vibes here because she's
Mm-hmm.
older than him and she's hitting on him in the car. And like, she's trying to make
Yep.
like sex seem so casual. And like, you can feel that way and have that conversation with people of your own age.
It was like sex is just a thing, and sometimes it even feels good. And I was like,
Yeah, I was like, we are not having this conversation with an 18-year-old male that you don't even know. Like, it was so
correct.
inappropriate. And then when Emma leaves, I thought she was going to find him in a compromising position with Annika. But instead, we get this like really well shot scene where we see Emma's car leave and we pan up to the Bates Motel sign and we sit there for a minute and we see the other car come back in. And I was like, that was actually really nice. It was very subtle. It wasn't like anything crazy they did, but it was just really
Yeah.
well shot. And then we see Norman leave this car. And I can only assume that he has killed Annika and taken her car back to the hotel, and Emma has just missed him coming back by himself.
Correct. That's also
So,
exactly what I thought was happening.
right, while I do not have the full information, because that is indeed the end of the episode, that's what I'm guessing happened.
So yeah, he already fucking killed somebody.
I do not have any trivia aside from the peeping Tom reference, and then I had the goof from the texting.
Texting.
Um, so who do you want to punch in the face?
Hold on, before punching, I have
You want to do
one
predictions
my
first?
theory that I had that I didn't my theory is that Alex did actually rat out the wheat farms himself because he needed the number of people involved to get smaller because he couldn't handle it without Nick Ford.
I think that's fair. I'm not sure though.
Okay.
I'm still on the fence about who I think did it.
Well, again, I'm just gonna think that Alex is the good guy all of the time, which is probably
Part of
wrong, but like,
me kind of wonders if Dylan did it because Remo's out of town, so he would have sent his friend away, and he knew he was safe because of Alex, and
that's
it
not a bad
would
thought either.
clear things up a lot.
That's not a bad thought either.
So
But
I'm conflicted, but I could also see it being Alex, so I just don't
yeah,
know for sure.
yeah.
Um,
But who
I
do I want?
also what? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead. I was
I
gonna
was
move
gonna
on.
say I also think that Emma is gonna die this season.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think he's gonna kill her though, but I think her death is going to set him off into
I
some.
I think his body count in terms of murder is going to start to tick upward.
I definitely agree, especially if he's home all the time, running a motel with people in the middle of nowhere and no one's around. And if Emma dies, he's going to lose it. I think that's going to be the next catalyst. And
Mhm.
that's where I think we're going this season. Um, I
Okay.
hope the best for Dylan.
Yeah.
So, any more predictions and thoughts before we start punching people?
No, no.
Well, then,
Still
who
a
would you
little
like?
confused. I mean, there's so many places it could go.
So many, which I'm very pleased by because I mean, we talked about how we weren't really sure where it was going to go next.
Yeah.
I think this is okay. I think we're
Yeah.
going to be okay for a bit, which is nice. Still not sure how we're going to do 5 seasons, but I think we can make it through season 3 okay.
Yeah. I think at least one more
Um,
will be good.
yeah. So who do you want to punch in the face?
I would like to punch Norman. A pretty easy one.
Yeah. He was one of mine. I always pick two
Yeah.
just so I don't pick the same one as you.
Yeah.
So Norman would have been one of mine, but I also picked Norma.
That's fair. That was my other thought.
I mean, just the two solid people that need to be punched in the face all the time.
Yeah.
Um, who's your MVP?
I want to say Emma, but she agreed to date Norman, and that's questionable.
But her sweetheart.
I know. I think I have to go with Emma.
She was one of mine. But I also picked Dylan. I mean,
That's fair.
he's the
Yeah.
only thing holding me together right now. So
Yeah. That's also fair.
bless his heart. But yeah, it is after 11 because we recorded on a weird day
Mm.
because life is chaos. Um,
Yes.
but if you want to talk to us, you can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
You can follow me at EMKAY_superstar.
And we'll be back for Stargate on Sci Fi Sunday. See ya.
See ya.